Hello, my beauties. Come in, come in. Sit down. Take a breath. So happy to have you here today. Today, I want to talk to you about self-care, something that is very important to me. Self-care, healing, awareness, all those wonderful things. Now, you might be thinking that healing and self-care is for yourself, but it is not. It is not for you. Kind of sucks. But self-care and healing is about fostering and maintaining meaningful relationships. We are in a crisis of community right now. We are in a crisis of what Esther Perel calls social atrophy right now. We feel less connected and more alone than we probably ever have. And it's because of this thing that was created to help us to feel more connected is now making us feel more lonely and disconnected than ever. So 2021 survey found that 15% of men reported 3 or more close friends, while 12% reported they have no close friends at all. Traditional masculine norms discourage men from expressing emotions or vulnerability. A 2020 survey found that women were more likely to feeling lonely, isolated, and isolated despite having large social networks. Women may also face societal expectations around emotional labor, which can lead to burnout and stress. The rise of social media has changed the way people form and maintain friendships, with some people feeling like they have a large network but lack deep, meaningful connections. And that is what this is all about. That is what my channel is all about. We can practice all of these self-care hacks and tools and tips and tricks, but it's not about us at the end of the day. Because we are not the judge of whether or not we are sufficiently becoming aware, we are sufficiently healing. It is our relationships that determine that. That is the ultimate judge of whether or not we are actually healing and growing and learning and practicing and demonstrating. It's not about what we say, it's about the friendships that we have, the bonds, the connections, even if those connections are just quote unquote minuscule connections, people we see and speak to on the street, or the connections we share with our siblings. These connections are what make life worth living. We are not isolated islands. We are meant to live in connection with each other. Part of the reason I wanted to start this channel was because I was really tired of the commodification of self-care, the capitalistic way we approach self-care. All of these things that were meant to cultivate our healing and our awareness have now been turned into, like everything else, a means of making money, a means of business. And there's nothing wrong with that. I am not anti-capitalist. I am from this country. I do not oppose that whatsoever. However, when your goal, when your end is to make money, and you negate all of the practices in which you practice to get there, you are cutting your nose off to spite your face, so to speak. There's a wonderful quote from Abraham Hicks that I love, and she says, "You cannot expect to have a happy ending to an unhappy journey." And that is so true, because you are the accumulation of the moments in which you are living on your way to wherever you are trying to get to. And I say this all the time. The goal and the expectation cannot be the objective. Your objective is presence, awareness, healing, and ultimately cultivating more deeper connections. Why? Because we're all here as demonstrators for each other. We're either preparing to be, or we are in the midst of preparing to be, because at one point we are there for either someone else, or someone else is going to be there for us. But we cannot do that if we are not cultivating a community-based consciousness to allow us to do so. I go to yoga, or I used to go to yoga pretty frequently, and I stopped going to yoga just because it felt like it was very odd, the dichotomy in a lot of yoga classes, where you have all of these people who are seemingly in this group together, living, attempting to do these practices, these practices that take you into the deepest level of yourself, and where you can practice optimal breathing. But I didn't really feel there was a actual human connection sometimes. It almost felt like, I'm doing this practice for me. Whether you get it or not, that's none of my business. I feel like America right now is kind of like that song, that Big Sean song. How does it go? It goes, you little stupid ass bitch, I ain't fucking with you. Like, get it together. I got mine, so you need to get yours, and I can't worry about whether or not you're getting it together or not. But that is how we are in this mess in the first place. This technology has allowed us to really be autonomous in our mistreatment of one another, in our disrespect of one another, in our lack of value for one another. Because the things that you would do and say online, unless you're a complete sociopath, which there are plenty of those, or there are those out there, 9 times out of 10, that's not the behavior you would demonstrate in someone's physical face. You would not do that. You would not say those things. Nipsey Hussle had a great saying, 10 toes down. If you're going to stand on it, stand on it. If that's how you feel that way. At least I know where you stand. At least I know that, okay, I am not valued, and I need to remove myself from this. But you're only going to be able to demonstrate that as a means of the connection you have first with yourself, and then the demonstration of that with other people, because that's what a healthy connection is. A healthy connection is a demonstration of the connection you have with yourself. You cannot give anyone anything you don't have yourself. Again, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you don't have the love, the compassion, the honesty to give in a respectful manner, that's probably because you're not giving it to yourself. A lot of people like to complain about everything under the sun. But especially the dynamic between men and women we're like pitted against each other, and it really drives me crazy. However, there is so little self-reflection that is happening in terms of, okay, what am I giving to this? How have I contributed to this? Am I demonstrating to myself that I can be trusted? Am I demonstrating to myself that I am honest, that I am a person of integrity, that I am a person of character? And if I am not, how can I then expect someone else to put their trust in me when I have not demonstrated that I am trusting myself, because I'm betraying myself, telling myself things that aren't true? I'm not being honest with myself. I am allowing people to enter and to stay in my life that are not good for me, not just people, but situations, relationships, jobs, everything under the sea, or sea on land. We're obviously not in the sea. It's challenging. It really is challenging. And this is part of the reason why I decided to step away from teaching, is because I was getting heartbroken year after year after year, because it felt like I kept on pouring into a glass that had a hole at the bottom. I was seeing these kids struggle, and I was trying everything. I was attempting to be a social worker and a counselor and a teacher and, a friend, a parent, all of these different hats I was attempting to wear. And at the end of the day, it really didn't seem to matter. It really just seemed like no matter what I did, I was just pouring water into this cup that had a hole at the bottom. And that's a vital part about knowing when and where your skills and talents are going to be appreciated. If your skills and talents are not appreciated in a certain environment, you can either A, go into it knowing that, or B, you can remove yourself, because I guarantee you there are people who need your specific skill set. It is your job to just get all that mental and emotional and spiritual clutter out of the way so you can be available to receive whatever you are supposed to receive, the connections you are supposed to actually have, and not be afraid of the work. We have become so obsessed with the before and the after picture. We see someone on Instagram and they're doing the pull-ups or they're doing the sit-ups and they have a six-pack and they look great. And, we don't see the whole time that it took to get there. All we see is that this person is looking a certain way. And then we are so enamored with the things that we see. We don't know if that person is actually a good person. What's the point of looking a certain way if you treat people like shit, if you don't respect someone? We don't know if that person is actually of character and of value. We're just going on what we see. Right now, more than ever, it is important that we take our healing seriously, not for ourselves, not for a demonstration so we can just be in the mirror and take another selfie and say, ooh la la, look at me, don't I look good? That's not the point. The point is to be there for someone else. People are so trapped in the chaos of their mind, and we are willing participants in it because we are not making ourselves available to them to the capacity that we can. Now, obviously, I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, I am not a counselor. I can only be available at a certain level of my education, of my wisdom, of my training. But I can be there for a lot of people, which is why I am choosing to have chosen to create this platform. Because the people who can hear me, I beg that you are staying consistent, looking for those opportunities to reach out beyond yourself and stay committed to your healing. Because if you have shown yourself that you can do it once, you have shown yourself that you can do it multiple times. It only takes one time to show and prove. Meaningful connections. That's what this is all about. We have to get back to a place where we feel valued, we feel seen, we are heard, we are respected. Because unfortunately, we have seen what happens when we are not. You can look at the global politics and see what happens when people don't value themselves, and then that becomes a demonstration of the politics and the behaviors that they demonstrate. Somebody who values themselves and trusts themselves and honors the people who came before them does not behave in such a way that is uncharacteristic, unhumanly characteristic, meaning the degradation of a land, of the sea. And this is not about blame or shame or guilt. Confirmation. This is about being able to rise to the challenge and staying committed to your journey, because you are doing it. You have done it. And I am proud of you. Watch this next video if you're interested. Thank you.